also did for that team last year. He backed up Lewis Hamilton in the closing stages, if you remember that. Just looking at the timing screens here, there's a 21-second gap, isn't there, between Alonso and Leclerc. If Alonso wanted to pit now, he wanted to pit now, he might well be able to come out in front of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, and touch and go at 21 seconds if they have a gremlin.
I'm not sure how long I can keep this up though.
Understood, Max, so just keep us informed.
What did he say? I didn't catch that.
I'll see how long I can keep this up for. How much longer can he go on those medium compound tyres doing the super job as it stands currently? And I would imagine rather enjoying the fruits of his labours.
Not sure how much longer I can keep this up for, was what he said. So he's feeling a little bit desperate out there. And he's got the McLarens who are continuing to run in 10th and 11th place ahead of him, a little bit ahead of him, but there's a lot of track behind him now soon where they could pit Verstappen and put him into a lovely open space.
Charles Leclerc, I think he's starting to complain about his tyres, and his lap times are falling off as a result. And I'd rather get the feeling Pierre Gasly's not backing up George Russell to make Russell's life uncomfortable, but what he would quite like to do is just save his tyres a little bit, thinking that Leclerc might be pitting soon. When Leclerc does, then there's the charge, because he's got the big gap out in front. There's no one around him that he's racing position for, and he'll be on the right sort of strategy. You want your tyres to be producing towards the end of a stint to ward off any undercuts. Looks quite a sensible move from Gasly. If he's trying to back up, who's that coming into the pit? It is Charles Leclerc. So those rear tyres were starting to go a bit. Ferrari have had to call him in.
It is Leclerc, and it's a new set of tyres. He'll be very happy to get rid of the old ones.
I knew you'd get that line in this weekend. 2.2 seconds he was stationary for. As Sainz goes through, as Hamilton goes through, and Leclerc comes out onto the track at Saint-Revot. Now, just making his way up the hill is Logan Sargent, who has already been lapped and will be obliged to get out of the way. So Charles Leclerc then, medium tyres to the end of this race. He'll certainly have pace, but will he have the track position he desires?
Lap critical is what they might well be saying to him, because Gasly rather has picked up his place as Leclerc goes on his out lap. They come out of the blankets at 70, then they have to get on the car, they have to trundle down the pit lane at 40 miles an hour. So you do need to build them back up in terms of temperature and pressure. But Leclerc, and he wants a chance with Gasly and Russell and co. Now is the time.
Gasly's got a lovely gap to be driving as fast as he possibly wants on this lap and probably the next lap as well. He's not going to be held up by back markers, and he is carrying on for another lap whilst we ride on board with the Red Bull down at Portier and Max Verstappen. He disappears into the tunnel, which looks an awful lot darker on the visor cam than it is for the drivers, and thus it's not quite the light difference when he gets out into the fresh air as well.
8-speed gearboxes.
What that difference, basically?
So mainly rain in about 15 laps, potentially?
In about, potentially. You know, that about sums up trying to guess the weather here, doesn't it? But yeah, so I was saying they got 8-speed gearboxes. They have to choose the gear ratios at the beginning of the season, so you don't see them needing 8th gear around here. That's why Max was in 7th coming out of the tunnel. I haven't seen them down the pit straight, but I strongly suspect they're only in 7th down there as well.
Yes, gearbox is quite a contentious issue, I think, in Formula One at the moment. With some calls, I think Aston Martin leading it after their Honda engine deal was announced for 2026, and the fact they'll be making their own gearboxes. And they were saying, well, why are we going to spend so much money on a gearbox? Why don't we just have a standard gearbox in Formula One? It does pretty much the same job up and down the field, and we could save a lot of money in a cost cap era if we just had a standardised gearbox. And you can understand that logic.
You can, but it's not very Formula One, is it? No. You know, why don't we just have 20 Formula Fords and save about $1 billion? You know, if you want to take that to the logical extreme.
I think if it wasn't for cost cap, it would have the argument, it wouldn't be discussed at all. But know, the amount of staff that you need to take on as well. No rain expected, says the rain forecast on the weather radar. It's changing all a little bit, but I have to say it's all changing to what I was led to believe was going to happen at the start of today. Matters not really for Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin, but for the next few laps they might need to think. Isn't that the rain has rather ruined Ferrari's afternoon, as there goes Gasly right behind Charles Leclerc.
They want to hope, I'm sure they're hoping that it carries on raining a little bit, you know. Still 22 laps to coach a set of intermediates on a dry track.
The only driver out there not on wet weather tyres is Kevin Magnussen. He has still got the hard compound tyre on, but how do you drive in these sort of conditions on slick tyres?
Yeah, so that's put Sainz down into 8th place, isn't it? It played out beautifully for Mercedes-Benz, puts them up into 4th and 5th. Now they're all on intermediates.
I said Max Verstappen had banged the barrier, but no damage. Oh, and in the way to Portier, yeah, clips it there. He did clip the barrier, but no damage. And this is Carlos Sainz at Mirabeau. We saw him coming back onto the track. Barely see where the corner is.
Yeah, so he's downshifted and locked the back axle. No damage. Oh, he got away so quickly, but it got, as soon as he pulled the downshift, like pulling the handbrake on.
And I think George Russell also had something of a moment. This is Lance Stroll, who, as you can see, is on the intermediate tyres. And another bang to the side of the Aston Martin that's very much been in the walls today.
But hang on a minute, his
front wing.
His right front was locked up there. The wing was trapped underneath it.
All the handling and grip of a shopping trolley there. And